Hello and welcome to the webinar. My name is Matthew. I am the B2B marketing manager here at Caspian. I'm here to just take care of a few housekeeping items, and then I'll pass the webinar over to our wonderful speakers, Matt and Jordan. So this webinar, first things first, is being recorded. If you do have to leave early, we will send a copy of the recording to your email. We are also going to have a live Q&A session at the end of the presentation. So if you have questions at any time, please put those in the chat and we'll address those during that Q&A section. I think that's it. So at this point, I'm going to pass it over to Matt and Jordan to introduce themselves. Enjoy.
Awesome. Appreciate everyone joining today. My name's Matt. I'm our Amazon advertising team lead. My primary job is I run search advertising campaigns as well as programmatic campaigns for brands on the seller side, on the vendor side, as well as we dabble in OTT streaming video campaigns as well. Jordan, I'll hand the baton to you.
Yeah, I'm our search marketing coordinator, so I work under Matt. I do very similar things to him. Every day I work with different companies, running their advertising on Amazon, whether programmatic or search. And so, ever since I've been here for a little while now, but just every day it's been doing this.
Awesome. So a little bit about Caspian. We were founded in 2008 as a third-party seller, grew into a $1 billion seller company, and really we're very, very passionate about e-commerce advertising in general, but our expertise is really in Amazon advertising, and we love it so much that we built our own proprietary software that we use in-house to help scale brands and really help drive total channel revenue forward for them.
Perfect. Now here's a little bit of an agenda for what we're going to be doing today. First, we're going to talk about what sponsored display and DSP looked like before October, what exactly happened in October to change everything, some recent results that we've been seeing, and then some of our best practices that Matt and I have both seen and some of our other teammates have seen utilizing our sponsored display. And then finally, as Matthew said in the beginning, we'll be doing a live Q&A.
Awesome. So let's talk about the before the sponsored display ad update that occurred in October 2021. So we have a little comparison chart here just showing the differences between the two platforms. So sponsored display pre-October 2021, it was a cost per click model only. So similar to sponsored brand and sponsored product ads, you get billed for every time a shopper clicks on your display ad, as opposed to DSP, which was a CPM model, cost per mille or cost per thousand, where you are paying for every 1,000 impressions that your display ads generate. Sponsored display was an on Amazon platform placement only. So it was primarily used for either offensive product targeting or defensive product targeting, where defensive product targeting, you're defending your shelf space, you're owning your aisle, trying to make it more difficult for competition to enter. And offensive targeting, you're really just trying to increase your overall visibility across the shopper's entire path to purchase. As opposed to DSP, where you have access to placing ads on the Amazon.com platform, not just on detailed product pages, but on page 1 of the SERP, on deal of the day pages, on checkout pages as well, all over the Amazon platform. But what made DSP unique was its ability to access off of Amazon placement on Amazon affiliate programs like Twitch.com, IMDb, but also on over 200,000 third-party applications. So you greatly expanded your overall reach and just visibility with your products there. As well as with DSP, you had access to the first-party audience data, right? Amazon doesn't sell their consumer data, unlike Google and Facebook do. Amazon houses it, they store it, and they allow marketers like ourselves to tap into those audiences and target shoppers based off of their historical shopping behaviors. Display ads before this update had no audience segments at all. We had no access to that first party data. So display ads were not programmatic advertising. Sponsored DSP is and still is programmatic advertising. DSP also has audiences, right? So tapping back into that first party data, as well as pixel targeting, where we could place a line of code on a website and actually create like a custom audience that is tailored to whatever specific brand we're working with. And then we could target shoppers based off of their shopping behaviors within that audience. DSP had no like custom, DSP has custom creative capabilities, like lifestyle images, attaching logos, headline ads, a lot of creative ability there, as opposed to display ads had really no custom creative ability at all. DSP was a 35K minimum ad spend, so there was a pretty large barrier to entry there.
Perfect. Now we're going to go into exactly what would change in October. So Amazon basically ungates it. They open up the floodgates. They basically combine both the DSP service and the sponsor display service. The first big thing to notice is that there was no minimum spend requirements. This made it more accessible to other companies, that didn't want to be spending $35,000 on something small or something like this. They couldn't afford it. So this made it accessible to all companies. This gave the sponsor display ads access to our programmatic advertising. So, they were able to advertise off of Amazon, as Matt was saying, on all these other websites, opposed to advertising solely on Amazon. It went to a VCPM cost model, opposed to cost per click. VCPM is the same thing as CPM. It's views cost per melee, and it's a term that Amazon uses, so we might be bouncing back and forth with VCPM and CPM. Just a little clarification. We had access, now we have access to Amazon's first-party consumer data, which that basically means, as Matt said, we have access to all of Amazon's customer data, so we can, target different types of parties. They call it the audience insights. So basically, we have access to things like if they're in market, you can have lifestyle type things. You can do purchases remarketing, which we'll talk about later. So essentially, if a customer purchases a product, you can retarget them with our sponsor display ads. You have views remarketing. So let's say someone decided to click on your product and not buy it. We can retarget those shoppers as well. We'll obviously explain a little bit more. And then also you can do, as I said, lifestyles. So, like how, if you own a house and things like that. We now also have access to custom creative capabilities. So, and opposed to just having this only on DSP, we have it on across all platforms. We'll explain a little bit more, but it's really good to see a good image, especially on mobile, where the image could take up a large majority of your phone. So opposed to having a little bar that someone can easily scroll past, you'll have something that takes up a third to half of your phone screen. And then also we have new to brand sales, which this is huge because you can see exactly how much you're expanding your brand. New to brand sales is someone that hasn't purchased from your brand in the past 365 days. So you can see exactly how well these ads are doing on targeting people that aren't brand halo and who haven't been purchasing from your company before.
Jordan and I are visual learners, so we like to look at the, from a 30,000-foot view, how do display ads play into the entire Amazon advertising landscape? So we have the marketing funnel in the middle, and on the left-hand side, you have the cost per click methods, the sponsored brand ads, and the sponsored product ads. Much more reactive ad types, right? Because in order for a shopper to interact with these two ad types, they have to organically come to Amazon.com and search keywords into the search bar in order to interact with these. Right, we know sponsored brand ads, very much top of funnel awareness campaigns. The main goal is to increase the overall discoverability of either the ASINs you're highlighting in the headline ad or driving traffic to your brand store where you can have a much more intimate setting with the shopper. Sponsored product ads work very much consideration, middle of funnel, but also they target high purchase intent shoppers that come to Amazon in market to purchase, but they don't necessarily have brand loyalty in the category. They do a great job at cleaning up those high purchase intent shoppers. But then display ads on the right-hand side fit the entire marketing funnel. And they're the only ad type that can really do this. So with sponsored display ads, something like retargeting, you can retarget shoppers that have looked at your detailed product page in the last 30, 60, 90 days, but did not purchase. It's a great way to capture low-hanging fruit and just overall improve conversion rate. But as you work your way up the funnel, you can target audiences like in market, which are shoppers that are deemed ready to purchase in your subcategory in the next 30 days. So it's a great way to beat competition to the punch with your ad types. And then as you work up the funnel, lifestyle audience targeting, where we're really opening up top of funnel awareness and we're targeting out of aisle shoppers. So they're not necessarily ready to make a purchase in your category, but they have showed high intent purchase in the last 365 days. So really with lifestyle, you're targeting potentially millions of shoppers. And as you work your way down the funnel, you're targeting subsets of audiences. But really, we at Caspian, we like to start at the bottom of the funnel and work our way up. So starting at the bottom, you want to own your aisle, you want to protect your shelf space, you want to grab as many brand halo shoppers as possible. And then once you've obtained a really good number there and got a solid base, you work your way up the funnel to the consideration phase, really go after shoppers with both reactive and proactive ad types that will drive that consideration traffic for conversion. And then once you kind of get a good grip on that, you go to top of funnel and really try to reach out of aisle shoppers and just get more exposure for your brand. And here's some examples of display ads. Again, they appear both on Amazon and off of Amazon.com. So a key place on Amazon is detailed product pages. And if you haven't looked, I would pay attention when next time you go to a detailed product page, you'll see sponsored display ads appear all over those product pages. One of the most classic ones is this little sponsored display banner ad at the top. You can see it shows the logo, also the product that they're highlighting, as well as the title of the product, the star rating, the reviews, whether it's Prime eligible or not. Really great way for shoppers to interact with your product, even though it might not be on your exact branded product page. And then here's some off Amazon placements, right? So display ads can appear on affiliate programs like Twitch and IMDb. Here you can see, if a shopper was on Twitch, this is how their sponsored display ads would appear to them. So again, it shows off not just the product, but also the title of the product as well. And then it shows the reviews and star rating, and then whether it's Prime eligible. And then you'll see on the right-hand side, just another look at those display ads. These display ads are called dynamic e-commerce ads because they have up to like 15 different formats in which they can appear, and they appear differently based off of what ad inventory placement we get when we're programmatically placing ads on these platforms and devices. And again, all traffic for display ads is led back to the specific detailed product page of that ASIN. And then here's a few more. Again, you can just see, some of these have now headlines and logos attached to them. So you can really show off your unique selling proposition with like a headline within these sponsored display ads. How can we show product differentiation to gain buyer preference? So ultimately, you win the sale over your competition.
So let's get into some early results. We've been talking kind of about what they do, but now let's actually show you what they have been doing for us. So this graph and table are showing solely sponsored display ad metrics. And this is a camera brand, back in January of 2021, as we talked about before, we had access to sponsored display, but it wasn't, the combination of what it is now. And that purple line there is ACOS and spend. You can just see that, spend was through the roof and people weren't able to make as much money. It was that these ads weren't efficient back in January of 2021. And then kind of jump forward to November, right? They came out in October, and then, you kind of had to test the waters and see exactly what the best practices were. And then in November was really when we hit the ground running, realizing exactly what we could do with these ads and seeing the full potential. And you could just see how high sales just shot up and how efficient these things were. So you see ACOS is ad cost of sales. So essentially it's your sales or spend divided by sales. So 10% means that it's very, very efficient, and seeing how low that ACOS is once we're able to get these things active. For these, as we talked about earlier, we utilize views remarketing. So essentially, a customer came and clicked on the product, decided not to buy it. We retargeted them, and they ended up buying the product. And then purchase remarketing as well. If a person, bought the product, let's say less than a year ago, we retargeted them and they purchased another product from our company. And then, just overall Q4 revenue, I can talk about this and say, oh yeah, these numbers look good, but just seeing the massive change from Q4 of 2020 to 2021, we had 131% year-over-year increase with them.
Next, we move on to a toys brand. Similar strategy, right? So we dabbled with sponsored display pre-October 2021. You'll see on the left-hand side of this graph with that red line, that ACoS was just through the roof for this brand, 200%. Clearly, right, the cost per click model did not work. We did not see a very good return on ad spend there, and we had no access to those audience segments that DSP was exclusive to. So we ended up pausing those in June. Then when the update occurred in October, we tested, as Jordan said, and then in November, December, and January, we really had best practices moving forward. So on the right-hand side, you see the audience segments that we ran. Again, we love to start with bottom of funnel, so views remarketing, not just targeting our shoppers that viewed our own detailed product pages but did not purchase, but also retargeting shoppers that viewed competitor product pages outside of our brand, but they didn't purchase from that competitor brand. We found that by retargeting that audience specifically, we're able to drive not just a lift in sales velocity, but a lift in new to brand sales as well. First time purchasers of our brand in the last 365 days. What we also did was then we worked up the funnel to in market, right? Targeting shoppers that are ready to make a purchase in this subcategory in the next 30 days, but they don't have brand loyalty. So we beat the competition to the punch by targeting shoppers off of Amazon.com with these display ads. Roughly 70% of our interactions with display with this brand were off of the Amazon platform. So we greatly increased visibility, drove that in-market traffic to our product page, and we converted at an exceptionally high rate. So here, this helped increase ad revenue year over year by 8% with the addition of sponsored display, 361K in ad revenue, and the vast majority of those sales were new to brand. So, really down the line here in 2022, those could be shoppers that will organically be purchasing from this brand in the future, so they won't have to pay for them for marketing anymore.
Perfect. Next, we have a computer brand. This company, again, you'll basically see a lot of these. We really started, a little bit in October, and then November, it's really when we started kicking it off, whether it was with basically all of the companies we work with. We're like, okay, we see it work here, and we kind of spread it across the board. Here, we utilize views remarketing, again, kind of what Matt was saying. We have our advertised products, so those specific products that we're advertising, we are trying to remarket people who viewed them but not purchased. And we also have similar to advertised products, which is essentially kind of what Matt was saying. If we have a computer brand A, which is ours, and then computer brand B, which is our competitors, it will retarget the people who looked at computer brand B's products but didn't purchase, and we'll retarget those with our products, and then they ended up purchasing ours. And a huge thing to talk about with Q4, this is the holiday season, so we do see a lot of cost per clicks going up. And so, you'll be paying a lot more for advertising. So this VCPM model is going to be a lot cheaper in this band. And just seeing, Q4 from 2020 to 2021 was a huge increase of 312% year over year.
Next, we've got a pet supplies brand. You'll see on the right-hand side with audience segments, we started to dabble with and expand our overall just like strategies. We started with bottom of funnel, capturing that low-hanging fruit with views remarketing, improving our conversion rate, and driving pretty ample new to brand sales for us. But then we tapped into this new audiences with purchases remarketing for this brand, and this plays really well if anyone listening today has a lot of ASINs that are seasonal. Purchases remarketing, or you're launching new ASINs within your existing product portfolio, you have to ask yourself, like, how can I drive quality traffic to my product page on new ASINs or seasonal ASINs, and how can I get reviews up on those product pages? Well, the people that are going to be most likely to purchase from a new product from your brand are going to be your brand halo shoppers. And those purchases remarketing audiences are the best ad type to consistently interact with that subset group of shoppers. So that's exactly what we did for this pet supplies brand. They had a bunch of new seasonal ASINs that didn't have a whole lot of reviews to them. And we tapped into this purchases remarketing and introduced our brand halo shoppers to a brand new product line. There we were able to just increase sales velocity by over 55% year over year in terms of ad revenue. Here we also tried product targeting. So if you run sponsored product ad product targeting, we would definitely recommend also running sponsored display ad product targeting. Here again, we can run a very offensive strategy, but also defensive, own our aisle, protect our shelf space at the same time. In terms of ad revenue, this brand reached upwards of $776,000 at a 9.2% ACOS. And once again, we see the vast majority of our orders are new to brand.
Next, we got a grocery brand. So these guys, we saw how successful they were in October. We're like, you know what, let's really push, buckle down and push these out for this brand. And so in November, we started out, it may look like ACOS is high, but it still was, about 12%. So it really wasn't, anything too bad. It was really good ACOS still. And then in December, we had everything really going, and we just were pushing sales with these sponsored display ads. And then, with our audience segments, we did user marketing again, purchase remarketing. It's going to be a lot of repetitiveness because these things work really well. But then we also were able to do product targeting. So kind of expanding, we'll expand a little bit more later. But basically, as we said earlier, in Q4, you always see a way higher cost per click. So with an offensive targeting, let your competitors pay for that cost per click and then advertise on their shelf space so you can take away their shoppers. And we also utilize purchase remarketing, which is huge with grocery brand because it's something that you're not buying just once. It's going to be something you're buying multiple times a year. So we're able to utilize that. And, let's say a person bought your product, you remarket them, they go, oh yeah, that was a good product, I'm going to get this again. So you're able to just kind of create brand halo shoppers. And you also might be thinking, okay, well, what if these people are already going to be buying the product? You don't want to be, cannibalizing it. But if you look at that new to brand sales stat, we're over 50% of our sales were new to brand. So it shows that we still were expanding our customer base without cannibalizing it and basically kind of not using our ad spend properly. And again, we did see another huge increase in ad revenue, 35% year over year.
Last case study we got for you is a chew toy brand. We ran a very aggressive sponsored display ad strategy for them, really in Q4 of 2021. On the right-hand side, you'll see the audiences that we use. This is this is a full funnel sponsored display ad approach that we use for this brand. Starting at the bottom of the funnel, again, with views remarketing, also interacting with our brand halo shoppers with purchases remarketing. Once we got a really solid foundation there and built a lot of relevancy with those display ads, we worked up the funnel, started targeting in-market shoppers that didn't have brand loyalty in the category, really took advantage of that off Amazon placement. And then we experimented with those top of funnel, those lifestyle and interest audiences. So when you tap into lifestyle and interest, again, those are so top of funnel, you're reaching potentially millions of US shoppers in a given time period. And they're deemed out of aisle shoppers because they've showed purchase intent in the category, but it's been in the last 365 days. So when you're launching lifestyle and interest audiences, you need to track those with different KPIs than you would middle to bottom of funnel, because you don't want to track like return on ad spend, ACOS, ad revenue with lifestyle and interest audiences, because really you're just trying to get more brand awareness and just trying to increase your discoverability there and just hopefully drive more traffic to your detailed product page. Even if they don't purchase, the views remarketing will do a great job of capturing that low-hanging fruit. And then once they become a brand halo shopper, the purchases remarketing, we will continue to re-engage with them. You'll see just how powerful with these numbers here up top. When you execute a full funnel display ad approach and you put the money and allocate it towards all three of the stages of the marketing funnel: awareness, consideration, high purchase intent, it won't just drive sales velocity for you, but it's going to drive potentially millions of dollars in new to brand sales for you that you could have missed out on, and competition could have, ended up stealing those shoppers from you. But for this chew toy brand, we drove $2.6 million in ad revenue. The vast majority of that was during Q4, just with sponsored display at a 10% ACOS. So really, really efficient across the board, across the entire funnel. And our new brands were upwards of 1.5 million. This brand saw 300 words, 1.5 million. Overall, this is 27% year-over-year in ad revenue in Q4, and a big of that was sponsored display. All right, sweet. So We covered the case studies, and now we're going to go over definitely some of the best practices that, if you take anything away from what Jordan and I have shared today, definitely start executing these strategies that we're about to share with you on these next couple slides. So the first one would be those bottom of funnel too that you saw on every single one of the case studies Jordan and I shared. Views remarketing and purchases remarketing, they go hand in hand. They're definitely the top sales velocity drivers with these programmatic ads right now. With the views remarketing, we saw far more success at driving not just new to brand sales, but just driving an increase in year-over-year ad revenue with that similar to advertised audience. So it's very interesting kind of reading, just studying US shoppers and how they interact with the Amazon platform and brands. But what we found behaviorally is that if a shopper comes to Amazon and they search in a subcategory, they go to a bunch of product pages of competitors, and they don't purchase, and they didn't interact with your brand at all during that time period, if we can retarget those shoppers wherever they may be in their path to purchase, on Amazon, off of Amazon, if we hit them with display ads, they are more likely to purchase from our brand who they didn't interact with on Amazon than purchasing from a brand that they did interact with on the end. I'm talking like 70 to 80% of our ad revenue with the platform, views remarketing, was coming from this similar to advertised audience. So we saw north of 50% of this ad revenue was new to brand. So we aren't really cannibalizing our own sales at all. That kind of debunks that theory, because you could say that, well, the ACoS is so low, like you have to be targeting shoppers that were organically going to be searching from you. In some scenarios, yes, and there are ways that you can kind of clean up that mess, but the new to brand sales speak for themselves that these ad types do a very good job at bringing shoppers all the way through the marketing funnel. For views remarketing, KPIs we would recommend tracking would definitely be the sales velocity one. So ad revenue, new to brand sales, as well as return on ad spend. And then if we go even lower in the funnel, purchases remarketing, again, this is by far the best ad type to re-engage with existing brand halo shoppers of yours. You never want to lose your brand halo shoppers, especially with how competitive the landscape on Amazon is now in 2022. There's so much competition in all these categories, so many different products that shoppers could potentially buy from. Targeting these shoppers behaviorally is a great way to make sure that these brand halo shoppers stay engaged with you at all times. It's also great with a lot of these brands. They had new products that they launched, and if they don't have any reviews, they don't have any star rating, the best audience to purchase those types of products is going to be your brand halo shoppers. So it's a great way to generate reviews and also keep like your ACoS pretty low at the same time. KPIs we would track would be conversion rate with purchases remarketing, and then new metrics that we can track, like how many shoppers added, your new products to their cart, and also how many brand halo customers or brand customers did you acquire during a certain week or a certain month period.
Awesome. Now this is personally my favorite type of advertisement on the whole Amazon advertising landscape. I mean, I try and push these all the time. First, we got product targeting with sponsor display. So first off, defensive product targeting. This number one, defend your shelf space. So kind of like that one example that Matt showed earlier, you can defend. Let's say someone clicked on your camera product. You'll defend that space so you won't have potential competitors on your space, which might lead to you not getting the sale. So you're defending your space, and you're also able to almost show your entire portfolio of products. So let's say you have 3 different type of cameras. Someone clicked on camera A, but then you also have camera B and camera C on your product as well, and maybe they'll end up buying camera B instead, or maybe they buy 2 different types of cameras or different types of products from your entire product portfolio. Here you can also see a lot of new to brand sales, mainly because these people, let's say someone closed on organically, you can expand your customer brand halo, like your brand halo shoppers, because people will see, you don't have just one product. They'll be able to see that you have multiple products that coincide with each other that could be useful with each other. Next, we got offensive product targeting, which, we talked about this a little bit before. You're going to be on your competitor's shelf space. So you can possibly take their shoppers and convert them into your own, which then we can also, it almost goes in a full circle. You can end up doing purchase remarketing, used remarketing, everything like that. But this kind of goes back to the let some companies pay for that expensive cost per click model. So you could pay a couple way more for that shopper to go on their product, and then you can take them away for a way cheaper price. So you're paying less for their shoppers than they are for just kind of throwing money out there, and then not end up getting the sale from there. And here we see a huge number of new to brand sales, because this is when we're actually, these aren't people that have been buying from your company, they're buying from other people's company. So you're essentially able to take these brand halo shoppers from other companies and converting them to your own.
Last best practice we recommend would be adding creatives to these display ads. So we saw quite an uplift in click-through rate.
Jordan, it seems we might have lost connection with Matt here for a moment. Would you be able to cover this slide for us?
Oh, I heard Matt for a second. Matt, you there?
I'm here. Did I cut off?
Yeah, but you got cut off. You just froze. There you go. You're good now.
Am I good now?
Yep.
You want me to start over on this slide?
Yes.
Cool. So we definitely recommend adding creatives to these display ads. Lifestyle images would probably be the number one. The reason for that is really you're just increasing your overall visibility on the Amazon platform off of it, as well as just click-through rate. So we're trying to drive more traffic to the product page on a daily basis. It goes back to this theory of that 45% of US shoppers are searching on mobile devices. And so the shelf space on a mobile device is extremely limited. So if you hit a shopper with a sponsored display ad when they're shopping on their phone, and it has a lifestyle image attached to it, it takes up like 30% of someone's screen space. So it's disruptive, and it's also very engaging. And depending on the image you use, it can really show off your product and its unique selling proposition. So what we found is that when you're running like product targeting on the Amazon platform, these lifestyle images work 2 to 3x times better at driving a higher click-through rate compared to using display ads that don't include the lifestyle image. Because most of these display ads are appearing on product pages on the Amazon platform, and display ads are the first ad type that a shopper will be engaged with if they're on a competitor detailed product page. It's not going to be a sponsored brand ad. It's not going to be a sponsored product ad. Off of Amazon placement, we do actually recommend going with like a headline and a logo. It shows your product it shows your product in a more clear way, as well as shoppers are much more interested in like, how many reviews, what's the star rating, is it Prime eligible? And then when you use the logo and headline ad, it also shows the title of the product as well. KPIs we would recommend if you're A/B testing lifestyle images versus no lifestyle images, definitely recommend tracking like click-through rate, detailed page views, and then the add to cart metrics. So how many shoppers actually put my product in their cart.
Excellent. All right. Thank you, gentlemen, for sharing all that information with us. As a reminder, if you do have any questions for us, please go ahead and drop those questions in the chat. I see a few that we'll get started with. But we have a half hour left in our time slot here. We don't necessarily have to use all of it. So just drop those questions in and we'll start working our way through them. First question here is, you mentioned the minimum spend for Amazon DSP was $35K. Is there a minimum spend requirement for sponsored display ads?
There is not, which has been a game changer for all of the brands that we work with at Caspian. So We have brands that spend $100 on these programmatic ads a month. We have brands that spend, $100,000 on these ad types a month. So whatever budget you want to allocate towards it, you can make it work, and we've seen results across the board.
Yeah, and definitely just to add on that, ever since October, it just really was, it wasn't exclusive just to those big brands. We were able to actually really start utilizing it across, all the different brands we've worked with, which was huge. And we've definitely seen brands grow significantly ever since we started using these.
Got it. Yeah, that price reduction is a huge difference. A similar question or related question, is there any value left in Amazon DSP after this update, or do I get everything I need from the sponsored display ad side?
That's a great question. So personally, so with our brands, we have seen that a lot of them that used to run DSP have now shifted their entire DSP budget and just put it all towards sponsored display. But I still do see value in running DSP. If you have your own website, you could easily run those pixel targeting campaigns and create a custom audience that is specifically just for your brand. I think that is extremely valuable in 2022, especially thinking about outbound marketing and how you can apply that and channel shoppers towards your Amazon either brand store or detailed product pages. There's some subtle differences with DSP still. You do have a slight bit more creative ability, not a whole lot more than what sponsored display ad offers, but you do have a little more flexibility with the creative and how the display ads look. And then the last thing would be with DSP, you can run video ads and not just these display ads or still ads. So those video ads can appear in a lot of the same ad inventory placements, but those video ads can also appear on like similar to how OTT runs and operates. So those video ads will appear on like Fire TV and things like that.
And OTT, just in case our audience doesn't know.
OTT stands for over the top, so it's also AKA known as the cord cutters, but it's the streaming TV platform. So Fire TV, Hulu, and all of those types of devices that go with that.
Excellent, thank you for that. The pixel retargeting on your own website, like that seems like a great way to focus in on a very relevant audience or a high intent audience. Jumping into another question here, can I specify to run only on Amazon, not off Amazon? And is that a good idea, especially with a lower budget?
So for on Amazon, it goes back to Jordan's favorite part, which is the product targeting. So if you want to solely focus on Amazon placement, product targeting will guarantee you that you're only placing ads on the marketplace. Once you get into the first party data and the audience segments, we don't have a whole lot of control right now over if our ads being served on Amazon or off of Amazon. What we do know is roughly 70% of the time our shoppers are interacting with our display ads off of the Amazon platform.
This I'll pass to you, Jordan. For views remarketing, do you manually select which competitor ASINs you want to remarket to?
It's not, you can't pick them specifically. It is Amazon picks it itself essentially. So you don't have much control over exactly what other products it goes, but Amazon does do a very good job at picking similar to advertised products. We do see a lot of success with it.
Got it. A similar kind of more detailed question. What are the requirements for sponsored display ads? Do you need to be brand registered? Do you need custom creative assets for it, or does it pull from the listing assets?
You do have to be brand registered. We've had success with brands that don't have creative assets. We've ran the display ads with just a logo and a headline, and we've still seen great results from that. But yeah, it's not a barrier to entry if you don't have any types of creative or really high level lifestyle images.
Got it. Okay. Question here about cannibalization. You were talking about this earlier, Matt. What is the best way to avoid cannibalizing your own customer base with DSP retargeting?
Yeah, that's a great question. So this is something we're still trying to find best practices for. What we found, the best way is to split up these audiences by your product families. And then from there, we can really control how much money we're allocating towards campaigns that have a lower new to brand sales percentage month over month, and then allocate more dollars towards campaigns that have a higher new to brand sales percentage month over month. What we found when we were testing back in October and parts of November is that there were definitely some DSP retargeting campaigns that were cannibalizing sales. You know that when you have a very low new to brand sales percentage within those campaigns. So either we found if you bid down on the CPMs pretty significantly by 50 to 100% every week, that'll just lower your overall visibility on those ad placements. So you'll be targeting less shoppers, therefore you'll probably be acquiring less new to brand shoppers as well, but you'll be cannibalizing your sales less when you're bidding down on those CPMs.
Got it. We have many more questions pouring in. Great to see this engagement. Please keep them coming. One of them here, let's see. You presented on many different strategies in the case study section using different types of audience targeting or audience insights. How do you decide which combination to choose? We saw some that used all of them, that Chew Toy brand. We saw some examples that only used a couple options. What factors go into deciding which options to use?
Biggest factor for our brands would be budget. So the brands that want to spend, $50,000 or more on these display ads in a given month, we're gonna want to not just target the low-hanging fruit, bottom of funnel shoppers, but also expand top of funnel reach with those lifestyle and interest audiences. So budget's a huge threshold and determination for strategy. If a brand only wants to put, $500 towards display ads, that's great. Well, we're only going to run bottom of funnel strategies because we want to make sure that, you stay profitable when you're running these display ads, as well as driving new to brand sales, and those bottom of funnel views remarketing campaigns do a great job at kind of conquering and achieving both of those KPIs.
Yeah, and if I can add on this, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, if you do something different, but for me, essentially what I do when I'm doing, if I'm building sponsored display campaigns, I really start out with that purchase remarketing. Sometimes, well, it also depends on what type of product it is. Like if you're in the grocery category, obviously you're going to want to retarget those shoppers. But if you're something that, someone's only going to buy once, then purchase remarketing isn't always the best thing. But then I move on to views remarketing is always next. And then I go into defensive product targeting and then offensive product targeting and slowly start kind of building up the funnel. We always start at the bottom because that's where we see the most success, and it's always a little bit cheaper there. And then depending on the size of the budget, you kind of start moving up and up the funnel, higher and higher.
Yeah, it seems like a sound strategy. More specific question to one of our audience members. They are experiencing discoverability as a concern. Competition is a combination of knockoffs and more legitimate sellers. In this issue where discoverability is a big pain point, are sponsored display ads a good starting point to kind of resolving that issue, or how would you begin tackling that issue?
Totally. If you want to increase, overall brand awareness by tapping into those top of funnel display ads, the interest and lifestyle audiences, which Amazon just continues to add more audiences to allow, like Jordan and I, to leverage every day. But potentially there you're reaching millions of US shoppers. What you have to be okay with, though, is that you don't want to track those lifestyle audiences with bottom of funnel KPIs like return on ad spend and ACoS. If you're okay to allocate a portion of your ad dollars every month towards going out and just increasing like your click-through rate or increasing your detailed page views and sessions in a given month, then those lifestyles and interest audiences are definitely going to be for you, right? And depending on what category you sell in, there's certain audiences that are top of funnel that could be directly correlated towards whatever you're selling in your category. So I would definitely recommend going through that there is a massive catalog of first party audiences that Amazon is giving us access to. And they span across so many different categories. So I would definitely recommend checking those out. I think that it is a better driver of awareness and discoverability than a sponsor brand headline ad that is only an on Amazon placement. Display will give you both on and the off Amazon placement.
To add a little bit more, I mean, I definitely think also if you want to target specifically on Amazon, doing a lot of offensive product targeting as well on, you know, like some of your similar products. It depends, depending on the brand, you know, you don't, if it's a smaller brand, it's going to be tough to advertise against some of these top tier brands. You know, so if you're a smaller brand, you kind of have to go through with some product targeting, offense product targeting, kind of find products that are similar to yours, especially in rating and reviews, because it's going to be tough, you know, to advertise something that has, let's say, 50 to 100 views to a couple thousand reviews, because normally your shopper is going to go to that one. So try and figure out exactly what products you can compete with, and then targeting specifically on them, and you'll expand there as well, because then you know, on top of what Matt said, you'll be getting these people that are specifically in market, because you know these people are looking at the products because they have the intent to buy them. And so I definitely think that'd be another one as well to really expand the discoverability of product targeting offensively.
Yeah, that's a really great call out, Jordan. Making sure that you're competing within your particular area, and then as you work bigger, you can tackle some of those bigger rivals. We have a couple more questions here, and then we'll wrap up. One of them is about seasonality. So for products that have high seasonality, what is a effective marketing strategy for the off season?
Off season, we'd still recommend allocating anywhere between 25 to 30% of your monthly marketing budget should go towards sponsored display. Off season, you could lower that to 20 to 25%, and really I would only focus on the views remarketing. So just improving that conversion rate. And we're finding that if you give shoppers 3, 4, 5 more looks at your product, they're going to be much more likely to convert. So it's a great way to acquire new shoppers, not spend a whole lot of money at the CPM auction. So you're still driving good sales velocity, but you're not having to spend that much money at the auction to do it.
And specifically, really targeting with a smaller look back window. So you're not, if you're just out of season, you don't want to be targeting these people that we're specifically looking at it in season. But if you have a smaller look back window, that person's just been recently in market, and you have a much higher percentage chance of getting those sellers compared to trying to look back way farther away, because by then they might go, oh, okay, I don't actually need that anymore and I don't really want it. But if you look back really recently, they're saying like, oh yeah, I actually do still want one of those, so I'm gonna end up buying one of those.
I see, got it. Last question here, and this is something you just touched on briefly, Matt, is about the percentage of where you're allocating your budget across ad types. Question is, how important are sponsored display ads compared to other ad types? Perhaps you can kind of elaborate how you kind of weight their importance, and maybe how that relates or might vary by goal.
Yeah, we still believe that sponsored product ads are king, just because of, right, there's 216 million unique monthly visitors that come to the Amazon marketplace. So if you're getting that much organic traffic and that many shoppers searching in the Amazon search bar, sponsored product ads do a very good job at targeting them. We recommend allocating 50% of your ad budget still goes towards sponsored product ads. Next would be sponsored display. We would recommend anywhere between 30 to 35% goes towards display. Again, we've seen it today, right? The number of new to brand sales that it can drive, how low the ACoS can be, and the fact that you can target shoppers across their entire path to purchase. And then the last would be sponsored brand ads. Still very valuable at increasing discoverability, right? They're the only ad type that can drive traffic directly to your brand store, but at the same time, they come with higher cost per clicks. There's not as much ad inventory on the marketplace. So we recommend like 15, 20% of your budget goes towards the headline ads.
Yeah, and this also just helps you, you have your full coverage. You're not just, if someone's searching up in one specific section, you're still able to show up everywhere you possibly can, opposed to just sponsor display or just sponsor product. With just it's a full coverage support, whether defensively or offensively.
Got it. I lied. We had one more question, and since we have time, I'm going to sneak it in. This is a broader, going beyond sponsor display ads, other pieces, but what are some tips for increasing organic ranking on Amazon?
Organic rank. Well, that's kind of going to go back to actual product page work itself. So, SEO optimizations, A+ content, making sure your bullet points and keywords on the back end are working well, especially with the keywords you're bidding on the front end with sponsored product and sponsored brand ads. But also, a great way to increase organic rank is using other, off Amazon platforms, or so things like blogs, articles, anything like that that'll drive organic reach for you. You will ultimately see an increase in organic rank on the Amazon platform as well, right? Because it really, the ranking on Amazon from an advertising perspective comes down to two things. It's the number of sessions you're driving to your product page on a daily basis, and then your conversion rate on that product page. Because Amazon wants to give the shopper the best shopping experience possible. They want to serve the best product to the shopper, so ultimately they have a great experience. They determine that with advertising through, if there's hundreds of thousands of people going to a specific product page and 30% of the time they convert, well, 30% conversion rate's really, really high on Amazon. They're going to want to serve that ad. They're going to want to serve your product to them more often, and so you will organically see a reach there.
Yeah, and I'll add to that some of the criteria that Amazon uses to assess or determine product rank. That's going to include, like Matt says, sessions and conversion rate. To bring in those sessions and more traffic, you need to be optimizing your title, bullet points, product description, the back end, all for search terms organically. To improve the conversion rate, that's going to really rely on both the text, how compelling is the writing, as well as the visuals. Do you have good imagery? Do you have good video? Do you have A+ content? Is your pricing competitive? Other factors include seller rank. So if you're going through a third-party seller, or you're going through your own Seller Central account, Amazon is looking at how old is your seller account? How many seller reviews do you have? How many total sales have you generated? What's your returns rate like? What's your refund rate like? There's a lot of different factors that go into this, but it's a very holistic approach to improve your organic rank. And paid advertising is a way to really accelerate that, to add fuel to the fire. But it starts with organic efforts, organic best practices. All right, I'm gonna call it there. Matt and Jordan, thank you so much for your time and sharing your expertise with us today. To our audience, thank you so much for the questions. This was a really engaged session, so really appreciate that time and for sticking with us throughout this webinar. We'll wrap up there. We will send a recording of this webinar to you. You can expect to receive that by tomorrow. All right, thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.